Hi, this is Mike Schmitz, and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. In this episode, we're taking a look at alternative email clients for the Mac. Apple Mail is a fairly powerful email client, but it does have its limitations, and there is no shortage of third-party options that are waiting to pick up the slack. We're going to take a look at a couple of the more popular and powerful options that are available on the Mac and compare them side by side so you can decide which one is right for you if you decide that Apple's built-in email solution just isn't going to cut it anymore and you're looking for an upgrade to your email management workflow. Let's get started.